Good morning, my little rays of sunshine. How are you all doing out there today? I'm Michelle the Introvert and I'm in my kitchen again. I have a really interesting recipe that I would like to share with you today. It is called buttermilk bread. And I've never made buttermilk bread before, nor have I tasted it. But I thought it would be a nice project to try. And if you guys want to come with me, that would be fantastic. I would love to have your company. Buttermilk bread. And here are the ingredients. And here are the directions and instructions. I have all of my dry ingredients measured out. Plus I have that silver pot in the back, which I'm going to need. And I checked the expiry date on my yeast, all is well there. And also this buttermilk I had taken out of my freezer last night. And it should pretty much be thawed here this morning. And with the recipe, it requires a thermometer to check the temperature once some ingredients go in that pot back there. So my friends, how about we get started? I think it's going to be a really fun day and everything's all ready to go. On the countertop, over here to my left, I have flour, salt, baking soda. To my right, I have sugar, I have some buttermilk and the yeast. And are you sitting comfortably? So now we'll begin. Now I'm over at the stove, and here's my saucepan. In these measuring cups here, I have the buttermilk, and although they spent the night in the fridge last night, they're still a little bit chunky, they're still a little bit frozen. But that's okay. Once I put them in the pot, it'll get all melted down. Over here I have the margarine, some water, and my cooking thermometer right there. According to the recipe, I have to let the water, the buttermilk, and the margarine heat up to the point where they get to be about 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's about that time I'll start putting my thermometer in. And it'll give like a curdled look, but it's supposed to have that curdled look. As long as we don't go past 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit with the thermometer. I just took its temperature, and it's at the right temperature. Now we're back over at the dry ingredients, and we're going to pour the liquid, the warm liquid, into this bowl from the pot. Now that everything is all mixed in, I'm going to add 2.5 to 3 cups of flour to this mixture. really good progress, my friends. And here is what the wonderful bread dough looks like. Feast your eyes. We're doing really well so far. And according to the recipe book, I need to take out a little bit of saran wrap, which I've done. And I have washed the Tupperware bowl out and put a little bit of vegetable oil in the bowl just to grease it a little bit so that the bread dough doesn't stick. And my next step is just simply to put this inside the bread bowl. There we go. And there it is. So I'm just going to put a little bit of saran wrap over the top of this loosely and lightly, and a tea towel. And my next step after this is to put this in a warm place so that the bread dough can rise. And what I usually do when I'm waiting for bread to rise, I turn the light bulb on in my oven. I don't turn the oven on. I just turn the light bulb on in my oven and slide this inside my oven and let the warmth from the light bulb help my bread dough to rise. So that's what I'm going to do, my friends. This is going to take a little bit of time because this has to double in size, but this is going to go spend some time in my oven. It's been an hour and a half, and I just took this bowl out of the oven, and I took a peek actually just to see how it was doing, and it has doubled in size. We'll lift off the tea towel. And there's the saran wrap. We'll lift that off. Ta-da! It looks great, my friends. It looks great. I took out this Pam non-stick cooking spray and I sprayed it in 2 of these pans for making bread. And now I'll take the bread dough from this bowl and just knead it. And then I'll read from the recipe as to what the next step might be. My hands are all nice and clean. I'm always washing my hands. So now we'll just empty this out. And I'll put a little bit of flour on my hands just so it won't stick. And we'll knead it a little tiny bit. And then I'm going to have to read from the recipe book to see what it says. Everything's going good so far. And there it is. If you're hearing a humming sound in the background, my fridge seems to be making that kind of a noise today. It's an unusual noise. I don't usually hear that, but if you all hear that, that's all it is. It's my fridge. So let's see what the recipe book says. I've had to look this over a couple of times just to see what they meant, but I'll read it out loud to you all. Let's see here. Okay, grease the loaf pans, which I did. Punch down the dough, well, I kneaded it, right? Same thing. Let's see, divide dough into 4 parts, shape into balls, shape into 4 rolls by rolling out each ball into a 10 by 7 inch rectangle. Starting with shorter side, roll up, pinch edges firmly to seal. And that's my next step, and I'll see if I can do that. It's my first time making this, and if I find that a little bit too challenging, then I'll just make them into the loaves that I usually make when I make bread. I divided the bread dough into 4 equal parts, and then I rolled them into balls like the recipe required and suggested. So now what I have to do, I'm just looking at my recipe book. Okay, so I'm going to make some room. Maybe I'll start with this one and see what I can do here. See how I manage. I've got my rolling pin, a little bit of flour. Whoops. Put a little bit of flour on my rolling pin. All right, my friends, let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do here. You can hear the air bubbles coming out of the dough there. We'll see if I can do this, my friends. My first time ever doing this. Well, it just seems to be staying into a circle, not so much of a rectangle. Okay. And if any of you have made buttermilk bread before, let me know in the comments. Let me know some tips and pointers on what you found helpful. You can hear the air bubbles. Here, I'll move these pans a little tiny bit. Okay. Alrighty, so let's see here. So I guess I have to roll this up according to the recipe. And I hope I'm doing this right. Whether I roll it right or wrong, it won't change the flavor of what this is gonna taste like. What do you think, my friends? Does that look all right? And then I have to put this in the pan like this. I guess they have to lay side by side, so I would put the second roll right there. Interesting. This is interesting. We'll see how this all turns out. Just make a little bit of room again here. So maybe we'll do this one. Roll this one out. Get some flour put on there so it doesn't stick so much. Okay. So we'll try this one. We'll roll this out flat. Try to make a rectangle as best as we can, and you can hear the air bubbles popping. Ta-da! I did it, my friends. I did it as best as I could for a first timer. Yes, so it wasn't as hard as I thought, and I'm pretty sure I did it the right way. Yes, it looks not too bad. So now this has to rise. I might cover it with this saran wrap again and my tea towel. And I'll put it back into my oven and let the light bulb in the oven warm things up and help it to rise. And I'll keep an eye on it. It has been about an hour and 15 minutes, and the bread, it has doubled in size. So let's take a look. It rose very, very well. And it looks very interesting, doesn't it? And I'll take this saran wrap off too. Now that it has risen double in size, I'll be putting it in the oven at 375 degrees for about 30 minutes. It looks interesting, doesn't it? With the two rolls in there like that. I just took the bread out of the oven, the buttermilk bread, and it looks like it turned out really, really good. I will say, however, that I had to turn the temperature of the oven down. The book says to turn the oven on to 375 degrees, but I found that the bread was darkening way too fast, and I was a little bit nervous about the bread not cooking through. So I dropped the temperature from 375 degrees to 360 degrees. I think 360 degrees might be the greatest temperature for the bread, just to ensure that it cooks all the way through and that it just doesn't bake the outside of the bread and not the inside. So that's the only really observation I can make about that decision. But all in all, everything seems to be fine. And come a little closer, my friends, and I'll show you how the bread looks. It looks pretty good. It looks interesting, doesn't it, with the two rolls in each one. Yes, it's going to be interesting to try and to taste that as well. The buttermilk bread is all cooled down, still a little bit warm, but it's not hot anymore. And I wanted to show you what it looks like. I cut off a slice, but I wanted to show you how that looks inside. It looks pretty nice, doesn't it, inside? And now, the moment of truth, my friends. It's time for the grand taste test. Yes, my very first taste test of buttermilk bread. Very first time ever, so I'm looking forward to trying it. And I have my napkin handy. And there's my buttermilk bread, my slice of buttermilk bread. Let's see what this tastes like. It has a very mild flavor. It's not strong at all. I think I like it. I like it. It's very, very good. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to have a stronger flavor, like a much stronger flavor. No, it's really, really nice. It's very mild. Very mild. I think a lot of people would like this recipe very, very much. And would I make it again? Yes, I would. I definitely would. It is very, very good. Well, my friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today as I made buttermilk bread for the very, very first time. And it definitely won't be my last. I'm very happy that I made it and it turned out great. And before I go, my friends, I do have a prayer request. If you don't mind keeping Nova Scotia in your prayers, there are quite a few wildfires here in Nova Scotia that they're working very, very hard, the firefighters here in Nova Scotia, but also Prince Edward Island firefighters have come up to help us, and firefighters from Newfoundland have come up to Nova Scotia. They're also helping us as well. But it is a very challenging fire and it's very hard to put out. It is actually out of control in some places. One of the fires is in Tantallon, which is near Halifax. And they're working hard on that fire. And Halifax is about a 4-hour drive from where I live, so it's quite a ways away. But there are some closer fires that are near to where I live. Barrington, Shelburne, and East Pubnico. They're about 40 minutes from where I live, a 40-minute drive. And those fires, those are actually bigger than the one in Tantallon near Halifax. So if you don't mind keeping us in your prayers and pray for safety for the people who have been evacuated, but also for their wonderful animals. Please keep the animals in prayer and the wildlife, the deer. Yes, please keep us all in your prayers, my friends. We could definitely use your prayers.